Whenever I discuss intermittent fasting on my channel, confusion erupts in the comments section, and that's on me. I try and add nuance to this complex topic, and it's my job to make sure that the explanations are easy to follow. And we have to get this right, because if we don't, it can take years off our lifespan. So let's break down the approach that I take with my patients at the clinic regarding intermittent fasting. So time-restricted feeding, or eating within a small part of the day, can be really helpful. It works well for people who are overweight or have type 2 diabetes, because it helps them to eat less, which lowers their blood sugar levels and insulin levels. I recommend the strategy to some of my patients at the clinic and work alongside the dietitian to achieve great results for our patients. And I've seen it work wonders. Some people lose a ton of weight and we can stop their blood pressure or insulin medications. It's awesome to see the results. But there are two crucial points that cause a lot of confusion. Let me explain them so that they're super easy to understand. The first thing is that the benefits from time-restricted feeding come from eating fewer calories. There's nothing else magical happening. You might have heard of something called autophagy. That's a fancy word for where your body clears out old, damaged cells. In mice, when they fast for 16 hours, their bodies clear out these old cells and they have less inflammation, less cancer risk, and live longer, even beyond what happens by just eating less. Scientists hoped that the same would happen in humans, but when we look at the studies on humans, we find that if one group eats whenever they want and the other group eats within a small window in the day, but they both eat the same amount of calories, that's the important point, there's no difference in weight loss or blood sugar. It's all about calorie intake. It's the same for fatty liver. There's no benefit from time-restricted feeding beyond just eating less. In fact, in a recent study that had one group eat within a 10-hour window and ate 80% of their food before 1 p.m., the other group ate normally but had over half of their food after 5 p.m. Both groups ate the same amount of calories, but overall, there were no differences in weight loss or blood sugar levels between the two groups, suggesting that any effect on time-restricted feeding is due to reductions in calorie intake. So here is the take-home message. Any benefits from time-restricted feeding are because we're eating fewer calories. There's no extra magic happening. But there is one key extra benefit: better sleep. If we eat an early, light dinner and stop eating, our body focuses on repair instead of digestion, which improves sleep quality. It's actually quite a fun experiment you can try. If you've got a smartwatch, you can check your heart rate overnight. You'll see if you have a big, late dinner, your heart rate stays higher overnight. But if you have an early, light dinner, your heart rate will be lower, and most people will wake up feeling way more energized. Overall, for people who are already a healthy weight and don't need help controlling their calorie intake, having an early, light dinner is great for sleep. But beyond that, based on the evidence we have today, there are no other big advantages to time-restricted feeding. The second point of confusion is protein. To maximize the benefits of resistance exercise and to support muscle building, we want about 1.6 grams of protein intake per kilogram of lean body weight per day. But when people skip meals, it's harder to get enough protein. Most people who practice time-restricted feeding, they skip breakfast and only eat in the afternoon and evening. Sure, that helps them eat fewer calories, but not so great for protein intake. One way around this is to have a low-calorie protein shake in the morning, even if we're fasting, because we don't have to worry about breaking the fast. We know it's not the fasting itself that gives us the benefits, it's the fact that we're eating fewer calories. And before we go any further, let me sum up everything so that there's no confusion. Time-restricted feeding is a great way to help people who are overweight or have type 2 diabetes to eat less, which helps them lose weight and lower blood sugar. The only extra benefit is better sleep if we have an early, light dinner, because the body can focus on repair rather than digestion. And from all of the studies we have, time-restricted feeding doesn't activate autophagy in humans the way it does in mice. And the final point is that if we do choose to do time-restricted feeding, we need to make sure that we're still having enough protein to maximize the benefits of resistance exercise. Regarding multi-day fasts, these are not recommended because of two reasons. There's no good human evidence that it's beneficial in the long term. It just hasn't been studied enough in randomized clinical trials. But the second and more important reason is muscle loss. So every day we break down muscle, and if we don't rebuild that lost muscle, we're in a net loss and we lose strength. So when I tried these longer multi-day fasts, I lost a lot of muscle mass quickly, and it took me weeks of hard work to rebuild it. Over that year, I felt weaker and weaker. any potential benefits I was receiving from these prolonged fasts, they were vastly outweighed by the negative impact on my muscle stores. Let me know in the comments if anything wasn't clear, and I'll try and make sure to clear up any confusion. And speaking of muscle mass, make sure to check out this next video here that explains step by step how to build muscle faster than 99% of people, and a massive thank you to all of the Patreons supporting the channel.